Hello, my name is Jessica Cassiano, and I'll be presenting Ersea 101. This is the Ersea team located at 2526 Soledad at our enrollment center for the Birth to 5 Head Start program. We have myself, Jessica Cassiano, I'm the Ersea specialist, Mrs. Robert Perez, which is the Ersea coordinator, and then we also have Mrs. Melendez here at the office, who is the family advocate for the Expected Women's program. She also helps us intake the applications. We'll start with our mission statement. NCCAA works with partners to apply comprehensive strategies to eliminate the causes of poverty for the people of Nueces County. This is our standards of conduct and discipline and guidance policy. This policy is a required training for all staff annually. And the purpose of this policy is to ensure that our staff, consultants, contractors, and volunteers abide by the established positive strategies to support children's well-being and prevent and address challenging behaviors. It's to ensure that they do not maltreat or endanger the health and safety of children, and also ensure that no child is left alone or unsupervised by staff or other responsible parties. This policy states that staff and other responsible parties must not use inappropriate discipline, isolate, fine, pinch, poke, or harm the child in any way. The policy does go on to detail further procedures regarding discipline and guidance, and this is just a reminder to all staff that we are mandated reporters, and if you do see something, please say something. This also pertains to our volunteers, consultants, and contractors. Our maltreatment policy and procedure also states that the purpose of this is to establish a method of reporting suspected or known child maltreatment in compliance with the applicable federal and state Texas Family Code Section 261.101 or tribal laws. And the policy states that any individual having cause to believe that a child's physical, mental health, or welfare has been or may be adversely affected by abuse or neglect by any person is obligated to report it no later than the 48th hour the person suspects the child has been or may be abused or neglected, in accordance with Section 261.101 of the Texas Family Code. All Head Start and early Head Start staff are mandated reporters and are legally obligated to report any suspected or known child abuse, neglect, as required by law to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. By law, professionals may not delegate the duty to report to another person or entity or rely on another person or entity to make the report. You are protected by law from liability when you make a report or provide information in good faith during a CPS investigation. NCCAA Head Start Director will immediately notify the assigned Office of Head Start Program Specialist or Regional Program Manager when a staff consultant or volunteer causes an incident or suspected incident of child abuse and neglect, an incident that affects the health and safety of children or violates the standard of conduct and discipline and guidance policy. The Texas Abuse Hotline is 1-800-252-5400 for situations including but not limited to serious injury, any injury to a child 5 years or younger, immediate need for medical treatment, including suicidal thoughts, sexual abuse, where the abuser has or will have access to the victim within the next 24 hours. Children aged 5 and under are alone or likely to be left alone within the next 24 hours, or anytime you believe your situation requires action in less than 24 hours. Call 911 or the local law enforcement agency if you have an emergency or life-threatening situation that may be dealt with immediately. You may remain anonymous or identify yourself when reporting a suspected case of child maltreatment. So we'll go ahead and get into Ersea. What is Ersea? Ersea stands for eligibility, recruitment, selection, enrollment, and attendance. And the numbers that you see to the right of these words are the standards that we follow regarding each component. So we'll get into eligibility, which is standard 1302.12. And that speaks for a family to be eligible, they must qualify by age, and income. 1302.12, determining, verifying, and documenting eligibility. The process overview states that staff must conduct an in-person interview with each family unless an in-person interview is not possible or convenient for the family. We must verify information as required in 1302.12H, which is the verification of age, and 1302.12I, which is the verification of income. Create an eligibility determination record for enrolled participants, as well as the governing body, policy council, management, and staff who determine eligibility must be trained annually. For the age requirement for early head start, a child must be an infant or a toddler younger than 3 years old. And for the Head Start program, a child must be at least 3 years old or turn 3 years old by the date used to determine kindergarten eligibility for public school in the community in which the Head Start program is located. For Nueces County, our cutoff date is September 1st. These are the current income guidelines that we have for the 23-24 school year. The party guidelines are updated annually in the Federal Reserve by the Department of Health and Human Services. So these are not numbers that our program adjusts itself. These are adjusted by the Health and Human Services and then sent out every year. Usually every January when they're updated, they typically go up anywhere from 1 to 5% every year. So as you'll see, each guideline corresponds with the family size, and that is how we will determine if the family is eligible for our services based upon their income. For the definition of family, the Office of Head Start states that a family for a child means all persons living in the same household who are supported by the child's parents or guardian's income and related to the child's parents or guardian by blood, marriage, or adoption, or the child's authorized caregiver or legally responsible party. Family for a pregnant mother means all persons who financially support that pregnant mother. And this is what we'll use to determine the family size in regards to the income. We also have some special situations that would make a family eligible regardless of their income. If a family is categorically eligible, they would have to be currently homeless or a foster child. If the family is also receiving current public assistance such as TANF, Supplemental Security Income, or SNAP, they also qualify. So these are all the special situations that would qualify a family regardless of their income. Again, that would be if the family is currently homeless or the child's been placed in foster care. And if the family is currently receiving TANF, SSI, or SNAP, then that would make them eligible for the program regardless of their income. To determine if a family is homeless, we do follow the McKinney-Vento Act, and that defines homeless children as individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. The Act provides examples of children who would fall under this definition. Children and youth sharing housing due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or a similar reason. Those living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or campgrounds due to a lack of alternative accommodations. Those living in emergency or transitional shelters, those abandoned in hospitals, those awaiting foster care placement, those whose primary nighttime residence is not ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation, such as park benches, cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings, substandard housing, bus or train stations, and migratory children and youth living in any of the above situations as well. To help us determine if a family is homeless, we give the families a residency questionnaire at the time of application. Based on how they fill out this residency questionnaire and the interview, will help us to determine if that family is categorically eligible based on homelessness. Once a child is selected for the program, the eligibility duration for each program is a little bit different. If a child is determined eligible and is participating in a Head Start program, he or she will remain eligible through the end of the succeeding program year. So for the early Head Start program, a child will remain eligible until the child turns 3 and ages out of the early Head Start. Now, for the Head Start program, they will get 2 consecutive years. If a third year is needed, then they must re-verify income and it must be approved by the director as well. For children that are transitioning from the early Head Start program, they must submit a Head Start application 6 months prior to the child turning 3. And then for all over income participants, they must re-verify their income to determine eligibility for the sustaining program. As discussed a little earlier, we do also have to keep a record for each child to show that we have documented the verification of their application intake. So this is the eligibility verification that's signed at the time of application. It's going to show all of the documents that are required to submit an application, as well as any additional documents that may have been submitted for added eligibility. You'll also see a falsifying information statement there at the bottom left, and the family will review those and sign off accordingly. In the application, the required documents will include proof of the child's age, such as official birth certificate, vital statistics, stamped hospital document, etc. We'll also require the parent's picture ID or primary caregiver and proof of the family's income. Unless they're categorically eligible, then we would need to see that current documentation. Now, some supporting documents that may also be included with the application would be verification of school or employment for the primary or secondary caregiver, current insurance for the child or participant, verification of Section 8 or housing, or any other type of additional document submitted to obtain additional points for eligibility, such as current immunizations, current physical for the child, current dental, things like that. Now, when we're interviewing the family, we also want to be sure that we're interviewing with cultural sensitivity. Culture is defined as a combination of thoughts, feelings, attitudes, beliefs, values, and behavior patterns that are shared by a racial, ethnic, religious, or social group. Culture influences the way that we decide to meet our basic daily needs, ranging from the most visible factors, such as diet, dress, and health, to the assumptions people make about themselves, their relationships with others, and their own priorities. We want to be sure that we maintain the highest level of respect when interviewing our families and maintaining that respect in regards to the culture as well. Now, recruitment. In order to reach children in the most need of services, a program must develop and implement a recruitment process designed to actively inform all families and eligible children of the availability of program services and encourage and assist families in applying for admission to the program. Focus should remain on children living in the grantee service area, vulnerable children, children with disabilities, homeless children, and children in foster care. Everybody in this Nueces County Community Action Agency is responsible for recruiting, not just our teaching staff, not just our family advocates, but everybody involved in the program. This is how we can make sure that we retain a very good wait list and have the most children coming in as possible, or coming in to apply at least. We'll go into section 1302.14 now, and that covers the selection process. The standard states that programs must annually establish a selection criteria that weight the prioritizations of selection of participants based on the family's income, homelessness, foster care, the child's age, and whether the child is eligible for special education and related services. A program must ensure at least 10% of its total funded enrollment is filled by children eligible for services under IDEA, which is Individuals and with Disabilities Education Act. And then from there, we're going to select from our wait list based upon the highest amount of criteria points or the family with the most vulnerable or most need of our services. So how do I get it? The selection criteria is actually based upon the data of our community needs assessment. We'll conduct a comprehensive community needs assessment every 5 years, and annually it will be updated accordingly. So based off of this data is how we will get together an Ersea committee based of family, staff, and other people, and maybe our board, policy council, et cetera. We can get a whole committee together. We're going to review the data and the community needs assessment. Based upon that data is how we can decide whether or not we need to change our point system, maybe add some points, take some points off, so that we can really ensure that we are targeting our most vulnerable families in our community. So this is a copy of what our point system looks like for the 22-23 year and our current year. As you can see, for the most part, some of them have remained the same. However, there are some that have changed based on the community needs assessment. So as you'll see, the family violence criteria points have changed from 100 to 125. And like I said, that was based off of the data on the community needs assessment in agreement with our Ersea committee before we changed the points. This is an example of what the wait list looks like. As you can see, it is filtered to help the family with the most need or the family with the most points. And it'll show their points, the child's name, their application information as far as their date, how they were categorized at the time of application or their income status, etc. So at the time that we have a vacancy, we'll go and pull the wait list. Whoever's at the top of the wait list at that point in time is who would get the next one. Now we'll go into confidentiality, PII. Standard 1303.22, disclosures with and without parental consent. PII stands for personally identifiable information. Children's records are confidential, and we are only to share information with primary caregivers, secondary caregivers, or other caregivers if listed on the application. We can also release information to CPS, licensing, or anybody else stated on a court order. PII policies are in place as well as procedures, and they're gone over with the family every year upon enrollment and annually with the staff as well. So by law, NCCAA must protect the child or parent's personally identifiable information. This is information such as names, family members, dates of births, or any other info that can be linked to the family. A copy of the policy is reviewed with all staff and signed upon hire and annually thereafter. A copy of the policy is also shared with all families upon enrollment. In regards to our employee handbook, the confidentiality statement states that an employee who gains knowledge of information within the scope of employment may not take advantage of such information for personal gains, nor may such information be disclosed to anyone except as required by the employee's position. Information gained about clients and volunteers through virtue of employment with the agency is considered confidential and will not be disclosed to third parties without client consent and the Chief Executive Officer's approval. All employees must sign the agency's advocacy and confidentiality statement as part of their employment requirements. No confidential information regarding income, health, or other circumstances is to be shared for any reason other than program-related purposes and only with those employees who have a need to know. Employees unsure of the confidentiality of information are responsible for checking with their supervisor prior to sharing information to determine whether or not the information is confidential. All inquiries by individuals not associated with the agency for information about the agency's financial matters, operations, volunteers, or other sensitive type of information must be directed to the CEO. No employee is authorized to disclose agency information without the CEO's approval. The CEO will inform the chairperson of the board of directors when agency information is disclosed. A breach of confidentiality may cause an employee or client serious stress or other difficulties. It is every employee's duty to rigorously respect all employees' and clients' right to privacy. Therefore, any breach of confidentiality may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. We also have a policy and procedure in place for PII in regards to the classroom use of the child's name. So this here just goes over a few examples of some items that are not to be labeled with the child's full name, such as a letter wall, cot, name tags, hubbies, classroom management, or home to school charts. We want to make sure that we maintain confidentiality and not expose any of that information. This also applies to feelings charts, helpers charts, art walls, etc. The only thing that will have the child's full name used as a labeling will be on the toothbrushes, and that's due to the minimum standard 746.3321. We'll also use numbers to represent the child in the following areas, such as their portfolios, lesson plans, diapers, and pull-up changing logs. Upon reviewing a child's record, a staff will also sign in with their full print name and initial, the specific reason for being in that record, the date that they're in the record, the time in and the time out. And as you'll see above, it's just another reminder of the confidentiality statement, as the information in that record is to remain confidential. Now we'll go into standard 1302.15, which covers enrollment. Our current funded enrollment numbers for the 23-24 school year, we currently serve 297 preschool children. So those are going to be our 3 to 5-year-olds. We have 424 infant and toddlers and 10 expectant women. A program must maintain its funded enrollment level and fill any vacancy as soon as possible, and a program must fill any vacancy within 30 days. Of these, 90% are to be income eligible. We are allowed to enroll 10% over income, and a total of 10% of the total enrollment will service children with qualifying disabilities, such as those receiving ECI services or any services with a local education agency, such as CCISD, Wistoso ISD, etc. Now, regarding entry upon enrollment, a family must comply with the state regulations. Current immunization records must be provided before starting services, or a notarized exemption if applicable. Physicals also must be submitted at the beginning of the school year when we're in that summer break. All children must be up to date before they can enter. Now, if we're enrolling throughout the year, a physical must be provided within 5 days from the start of services, and that's based upon minimum standards. And voluntary parent participation, it is voluntary and it is not required as a condition of the child's enrollment. Now we'll go over some of the enrollment documents that are completed with the family upon enrollment of the program. So this is a notification letter that the family would receive at the enrollment process. So it's going to show the center street information as far as the address, city, the phone number, and the type of program that the child was accepted into, whether that be the infant and toddler program, the preschool program, or if the mom is accepted into the expectant women's program, then it'll be marked off accordingly. So this is proof of acceptance into the program, sorry. Now this is a consent for participation, and this is required to enroll a child with NCCAA. And this is to inform families of the comprehensive services, which include education, health, mental health, disability, nutrition, transition, family services, and facilities. This is our discipline and guidance policy that we went over in the beginning. We also go over this with our families so that they're aware of the policies and procedures in place and what we maintain. This is a copy of the PII parent receipt. So the parent will sign this upon reviewing and understanding our personally identifiable information policy. This is just a receipt that we've gone over that information with them and that they're aware we're going to keep their child and their family's information confidential. This is an intoxicated and impaired person child pickup form. And this form is to ensure that no child is intentionally allowed to leave the center's care. in the custody of a person in a physical or mental condition that may prevent them from assuring the child's welfare. So if an impaired person does come to pick up the child, the staff will inform the pickup person that he or she feels unsafe for the child to ride with him or her, and the local police will be notified. Other Other people on the emergency contact will be contacted to see if they can pick up the child. And if the person who is impaired does decide to leave with the child, the Texas Child Care Licensing states that we may not legally prevent the child from being picked up by a parent or person designated by that parent. However, actions will be taken and a meeting will be held with the family within 24 hours. We also conduct a parent orientation upon enrollment with all families. If a copy of the parent handbook is requested, they can mark up parent orientation and we will give them a copy. They can also find a copy of the parent handbook online at all times. Now, this is our birth to 5 playground notification. So this form is signed just to let the parents be aware that our agency is required to have and follow manufacturer instructions on the playground. But because some of our equipment has been used for many years and prior to this being in place with the minimum standards, some of our sites do not have those instructions. So this is just to make the parent aware. We also have a policy on infant safe sleep, and this policy goes over how we maintain safe sleep for that infant. We request that the child be placed on their back in a safe position when they're sleeping. We also always put the infant to sleep with nothing else in the crib. So there's going to be no bumpers in there, no extra blankets, no toys, anything like that. And we also encourage the family to bring them in something warm like sleepers, so that way they can adjust to being in the crib without, the use of a blanket. So this form is gone over with the families upon enrollment if they do have an infant under 12 months, and the parents will sign accordingly. We also have an over-income eligibility duration form that we give to the parent, and this is just a notification to inform them that they will have to re-verify their income to determine eligibility for the next program year. Now we'll go into attendance, which is 1302.16. And we do encourage our families to maintain 85% average daily attendance. And the standard does state that a program must track attendance for each child. A program must implement a process to ensure children are safe when they do arrive at school. And if a child is unexpectedly absent and a parent has not contacted the program within 1 hour of the program start time, the program must attempt to contact the parent to ensure the child's well-being. This is the back of our meal count form that the teachers can write the reason for the child being out if they have been in communication with that family. So we do also have a policy in line with our regular attendance to make sure that we maintain that, or to make sure that we're reaching out to those families that have not been in attendance. And that policy states that when a child is absent without contact, the following steps are initiated within 1 hour from the start of services. So on the first and second day, the classroom staff will notify the family advocate or the center manager, and one of them will contact the family. By the third day, if there's still no contact, the family advocate or the site-based manager will make a home visit to assess the family situation and provide any necessary referrals. If no contact is made, a door hanger can be left. And after 5 consecutive days without contact from the family, the child will be dropped from the program. Now, we also keep case notes to track our communication with all families in the program. So why do we do these case notes? It is a form of documentation to record information. It records interactions with the children and the families. And case notes can give an insight and understanding of individuals and situations. They're to provide accuracy, fact, and evidence. Case notes record face-to-face interactions and phone contacts. and they're to be updated frequently and promptly while the information is fresh. Now we'll go into 1302.18, which goes over fees. And that does state that a program must not charge eligible families a fee to participate in Head Start, including special events such as field trips, and cannot in any way condition an eligible child's enrollment or participation in the program upon the payment of a fee. Note that families are not required to provide supplies for the children in order to participate in our program. And lastly, we'll go into fraud. Fraud is defined as waste and abuse of grant funds that include embezzlement, misuse, or misappropriation of property, and false statements by organizations or individuals. This can be considered a felony offense. It can include falsifying information, and it can pertain to staff and parents. And it can also result in a loss of our funding or our grant. So I'll go into a quick video showing an undercover study that was done, or an undercover.
Okay, that records. So I have a W-2 and pay stubs. I didn't remember which one you said.
I need the W-2 from 2007.
Okay, so this is the W-2 for one of my jobs.
Okay.
Okay, and then I have an employment letter for my second job.
Okay.
Okay.
This was, and this is right now, you have the second job in this year, 2018.
Yes.
I don't need that.
You don't need this.
I just need, you're talking about to give him it for extra points for full day. What?
I don't know anything about points. What do you need?
Okay. So I just need this. This is all I need.
So you don't need the information from my second job?
No, did I say I did?
I don't know. You said.
Okay, I wasn't
I
sure.
probably brought too much stuff. Like
No,
I brought
that's
utility
okay. No,
bill too.
no, that's fine. I just need this. I was wondering if I.
You just said bring proof of income, and I couldn't remember if you said pay stubs or
No, this is
W-2s or
good.
whatever.
This is good.
And I didn't know on the phone if I told you I had another job.
Oh, okay. No, because even if you had two jobs this year, we go based on what you made last year.
Well, I had that job last year too.
Well, is it in part of this?
What do you mean?
Your W-2 form?
Well, that's just for this job. They don't combine them.
Oh, no, this is fine.
Okay.
This is your income from last year. This is what I'm going to take.
Okay.
So as you'll see, you could hear in that video the staff of the Head Start program trying to engage in some fraudulent behavior, trying to mislead the participant and not submitting all forms of income. So we want to be sure that we are diligent in our intake process and verifying all forms of information that must be verified. Well, thank you. That is the end of our presentation. If anybody is interested in submitting an application for the Birth to 5 Head Start program, you can scan this QR code here for an online pre-application. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Mrs. Roberts. Our numbers and emails are located on this slide. Thank you.